Welcome back, friends, to the Performance Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Amy Calandrino, and after over a decade of advising business owners and investors on their commercial real estate needs, I've met some impactful and influential people along the way. If you're tuning into this show and you want to grow, you're in the right spot. So today I have with me Antje Pepper. We met about a decade ago when I moved to Winter Park. She was really involved with the Winter Park Chamber, also went through Leadership Winter Park, and it was really cool to get to know her. One of the most notable times I think about is we facilitated like this business day, and we brought some people that were on Shark Tank to come talk to people. Like it was like Night Runner or something like that, and it was really cool. And I loved how much like the energy of having like a woman who's also like a business owner, and husband's also an entrepreneur, which my husband's an entrepreneur, and
driven.
I met her before I had babies, and then you had little ones. Yeah. So, but we've it's been super cool, and we'll talk a little bit about today how you sold that business, the adventure you went on, which led to the other business. Yes. So here we are.
Yeah, maybe just a quick brief history. So I met my husband, he's American, I'm German, and we met on a scuba diving trip in New Zealand. So I think if you know that, it gives you a little bit of an idea of how our life evolved from there. We lived in Austria together before we got married, and we moved here. And I had a corporate marketing job at Danone, which I quit to go and live with my new American husband. He had an IT business. So I started helping or running the business with him. And that's how we met, because we were a local service-based business. So I started doing their business development, having not a lot of idea about IT, but a lot of ideas about marketing. So I started with a chamber, which I thought was just a good place to be at, to get involved in the community and make good connections. And also I was new in a new country, right? So to meet some good people like you. So when we grew the business, we were at a point where my husband had done it for over 10 years, and we were getting kind of a little bit of burned out. We had 2 little kids, and we always had this dream of traveling around the world again. So that was always in the back of our minds. And we always said, well, with kids, without kids, it doesn't matter. Our honeymoon, for example, was like 3 months backpacking in Southeast Asia. So we always had this, we want to go traveling again. And we came to a point where my husband, one day he came home and was like, I'm ready to sell this. Let's chase our dreams. Let's go and do this around the world travel. And again, we were lucky. We met actually our CPA, who I met through networking and the chamber. They were looking to buy an IT company, so we could sell it to good people. And then we took off. So we sold the business in 2017, luckily, right before years before the pandemic. We had a 3 and 1 year old that shortly after turned 4 and 2. We traveled to 23 different countries for 19 months. I got pregnant on the way. We had our 3rd child in Germany, where I'm from. So it was like having a home.
And I think you got pregnant in New Zealand, where this all began.
Oh, you remember that. Exactly. Right. That's right. I told my husband, we had a camper van. It was Christmas, and that was my Christmas present to him, saying, we are going to have another baby. Right where it all started. That's right. So we came back after a year and a half with another child, and we moved back into our house. And we, as I said, we had a local service-based business before, but we wanted to grow in a different direction, start another company, but we were looking for a product-based business. So we were thinking, like, what is a product that we always need as a parents or with young kids, and we can't really find, or it's not as we wanted in the marketplace. And that's when we came up with ideas like, hold on, we always, every day on our adventures, we needed a first aid kit, but we had to put it together ourselves. It was super unorganized. We couldn't find anything that had the stuff that we wanted and the high quality. It's like all these plastic bandages are terrible. So at that point, all you could find were like Disney characters. And it's like, why isn't there something that for families? And then I was like, and I wanted to look cute. So I don't want to like haul around these army-wide first aid kits. So we we have designed patent pending. We designed a first aid kit on the inside. My husband is the perfectionist, so he wanted everything form fit. So we sat down and said, what do we need? And we came up with like, well, we need things like nosebleed pucks and tick removers, and for birds, for blisters, for tick bites, so we need all of these things. We need more just a bandage for a skinned knee, which happens a lot. So, and we want cute bandages and high quality. So we put all of this together and we made our first prototype of first aid kit, and then we started asking other moms what they think and how they like it, and that's how the idea was born, and that's how it all started. That was back in 2019.
That's incredible. And so you left in 2017, and then you got back in 2019 and pretty like immediately went like straight to the drawing board.
It took a few months to try to find the right idea, and then we met with a seamstress here in Orlando. We got connected to her. I think over Facebook, I found her to say, "Can you show us a prototype?"
Yeah.
And then, like as luck has it, in one of the preschool we went to before we left, I remember one of the moms told me that she is a fabric designer. So I called her up. It's like, hey, we have this idea, and is this something you can help us with? And it turned out she is an incredible, talented designer, had a lot of experience, and she invited me over saying, if you want to do designs, like here's what I recommend. Do some dots, stripes, do a wide side. Start with these patterns. They're always good to get your, to start out. And she was so super helpful. She also designed our bandages, and then we went to work. So I started working on all the marketing. It was important to me to build a brand that has a purpose. So we do want to help every mother to make their lives a little bit easier. We stand for adventurous family. We want to encourage everyone to go out of their comfort zone. So I went to like, what do we want to stand for? What is the product for? It's like it helps you keep going on your daily adventure. That's why we called ourselves Keep Going First Aid, because it's just what you need. When your little falls down, everything stops, and you need to fix the problem. And they cry and they're upset. You got to go as a parent and help them. So, but you want to keep having fun. So that's why we Keep Going First Aid. And my husband went to work to find suppliers, like who can make these bags for us, where can we buy the supplies, how can we pack it all, and how can we then send it out to people.
That's super cool. I will have to say, I had an instance last summer. We were on the playground in Florida, and it gets really hot. And I didn't realize my daughter likes to take her shoes off all the time. I didn't realize she had taken her shoes off, and she like burned the bottom of like her like feet, and she was screaming. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm like, oh, wait a second. I have my first aid kit, put the burn gel, like she had like immediate like relief. And you don't know that you'll use it. And we have all different sizes that, we keep in different spots. Obviously, if we're going on a big trip, we bring the big one. But like for daily, just keep the little one, in the purse or attached to your keychain. Yeah. It's really great. I think that's an awesome idea. And I think obviously the best companies are like you identify a need, and then, and you can identify with the audience.
Exactly.
Like,
so as having a background in marketing, we made sure we have a product market fit first. And luckily, because we are our own target group, it made it fairly easy for us to just go to school and talk to our friends, talk to our other moms, talk to other parents of what they like. And then lucky nowadays, if you want to test something, there is Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. There are your platforms right out there. So we knew like our moms, they're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. So let's make a little ad and see who clicks on it, right? Let's see if it resonates with people. And to this day, we're showing an ad that just shows our kids in our backyard, very easy. And we show it to nurses, mothers, teachers, and they see it's different, it's new. It looks different. It's super organized. Like everyone who has ever dealt with a first aid kit knows, like this is what I need. Like nothing else is like it in the market at the moment.
Well, the material just feels so different, and the designs remind me a lot of like kind of like Rifle Paper Company has these incredible like cool like designs, and I think they're fun, lively, so it's like kind of like fashion forward to have it. with you. And yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
we did
super
start with only
organized.
one
So
size and 4 designs, and then we saw there is
yeah.
there is an interest, there is a market. So we started developing more designs, and we decided to develop different sizes. So a big one for the home, a medium one for your backpack or diaper bag, and a little one kind of your kids' backpack to clip on. So we started evolving from the beginning. But I think what we have done, to toot my own horn, but I think what we're really good at is focusing. So we were always very good, and that also is, if you want to, how do you run a business and have 4 kids and do, like, we're very good at focusing.
Well, that's what I kind of want to chat about
Yeah.
today. Like, and then I all of a sudden found out you were having your fourth because I'm going to prenatal yoga for my second, and I'm like, what are you doing here, Antje?
Yeah, that was fun. Like, yeah, we had a little pandemic baby. We had one more. We threw one more in the mix while we were starting the company once after she was born in 2021. So now we are a family of 6.
Yeah, I think our daughters are just a few months apart. Yeah, so both born in 2021.
Yeah. So coming back to how to juggle this all and how to manage this, I think one big thing is focus. With the business, we always try to really solve problems in the right order. So first, make sure you have a market fit. Then understand where your audience is. Go and find your audience, which for us was social media. Talk to them there, and then move slowly. Then I started adding an email program, for example. Then we started adding search engine optimization. But we first focused on what's really important. What moves the needle the most right now, where I'm at in my business, and drown out or ignore all the rest. Everyone's going to tell you, you also need to do this, you need to do that, you need to, like, we're not there yet, we can't do it right now. We need to focus on what we have right now and what's going to move the needle the most in our business. So we step by step added it, and we did it all ourselves. But then once we started being bigger and having more revenue, I started hiring someone to help me with email, for example. And then we got a little big, I started hiring someone to help me with Instagram. So I think we are really good at focusing and then generating sustainable growth. So we were doing it step by step. So we would, for example, we would run out of stock a lot in the beginning because we just could not anticipate how much people would love the product. So, and we didn't want to order before we knew how much it sells. So, but the order process is really long because you have to make them and pack them and get all these 100 different items. So we would be out of stock a lot, but we said, well, this is the best problem we can have. But we made sure, like, this, we have the interest before we order, and then we go and order, and we had a few months out of stock, which is unfortunate, but sustainable growth was more important to us.
You know, listening to you chat, it's almost like birthing this business is similar to birthing a baby. As a mom, both of us, you get a lot of unsolicited advice as a mom. And then you also get so much unsolicited advice as a business owner. And then, you know, if it doesn't apply, you got to, like, let it slide. But then sometimes somebody has a good idea. But I think if you try to do too much, you almost have whiplash, you know, in your business because you already had all these plans to, you know, and then you're trying this. And I've done it. I've had periods where I haven't been as disciplined, you know, in my business. But when I have the focus and I have the discipline, I've been most successful. But you definitely don't want to discourage people from giving you advice. Like, you know, I appreciate the advice that people give me as a mom. And I appreciate the advice that people give me as a business owner. I don't think people actually realize it. I didn't even realize it until this podcast today.
It's kind of similar. It's so similar. And I thought about when you said, how do you balance it out? So in my mind, I was going through different scenarios, like, how do I balance this? But there's so much that's the same. Like, you always completely overwhelmed, or you could be completely overwhelmed by all the input and all the information and all the things there are to do. So a few strategies I have is, one is always focus and attack is one of mine. It's like really to hone it. So sometimes I even write down, if I feel like I write down 3 things I want to get done in the morning for my business. 3 things only, which I think are going to move the needle the most. 3 things. And then I try to focus and attack. That's one thing. The other is declutter is a big one too, which is Also in my house, and you see a nice clean background, but for a thing, suffocation is a thing I really feel with 4 kids in the house, but I also feel it in the business. There's
Yeah.
just so many newsletters or things that come in, so much information. So I always try to declutter. Just get rid of things you
Yeah.
don't need. And when you have a new baby, you get like, do you really need the swing and the seat? Do you really need 2 different strollers? Do you really need, like, if I don't need something, give it a new home, give it to someone who can use it, right? Give it a new life, but get it out of my house, because if it's overwhelming. So focus, declutter, and then I'm also a full on, full off. That always helps me too. Like if I want to do something, it's like, I think in my business, what's going to move the needle right now is like we started going on TikTok beginning of this year. So it's like, I think TikTok is a good thing. So I'm going to focus full on TikTok. But before that, I was full off TikTok. I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not going on it. I'm not going to try to do maybe a reel here and a thing there and hope it goes viral. It's like, it's not. You need a strategy, and you need to say, this is what I'm focusing on. And if it's not a good idea, then full off. Just turn it off. Don't do it. Same with your kids, right? I mean, right now I'm not in the position where I can be a homeroom mom, for example, right? I'm so grateful for everyone. I'm still very involved with my kids, but it's like, if someone asks, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'll support you with bringing in supplies or donating, like whenever you need money to organize something, I Venmo you immediately. I'm the first one to Venmo, but I just can't do this right now. So it's kind of a full off. It's like, and people understand, other moms understand. We're all in the same boat. And I'm sure there will be a time where I have more room and I can be more involved for community activities like that. And then, so there's seasons for things. So focus, declutter, full on, full off. Sorry, focus, declutter, full on, full off. Those are things like in my mind that's
Yeah. Well, the focusing, the declutter, full on, full off, but it also, one thing we didn't talk about too is one way you were able to travel around the world with a 2 and a 4-year-old was you said you had one suitcase and you only let them have candy and clothes as you traveled around the world. And then you learned to kind of like stuff things into their other bags, but that's all you had. Like you totally decluttered and got down to the basics. And I am the worst overpacker in the world. And the other day I forgot my kids' like suitcase with their clothes to go to the beach, and actually thought of you. And I'm like, well, Auntie would be fine with this. And like we went to a surf shop, got them some clothes and stuff like that. But I was like, how did you do that?
We started with 2 suitcases and a stroller and 2 car seats. So we would stuff like the diapers in the car seat bag and the candy and clothes. That was one Christmas when we had the Christmas in the camper van. It's like all you're getting was like new clothes and candy, and I think inflatable balloon to have a wall or something. So you really don't need much, and I think that's back to the basics. You don't need so much. And my house at the moment is the same with all the toys, because we have so many. We have kids between 10 and 3, but we have a lot of toys they can all play with. So magnet tiles, Duplos, Legos, even train hex. So we have toys that just grow with the kids. And they're around for a long time, and they go in boxes and they go in the closet for a year or so, or for 6 months, and then they come back out. It's just the focus. The focus and the declutter.
Yeah. I agree with that. You know, I've had periods where I've just piled on too much, but then when you do declutter, you get rid of the noise, and then you can focus just a lot better, whether it's personally or
I think another thing that really helps is like having a strategy, stick with it, reflect on it, and then adjust. So, and that really helps for business, right? It's like, okay, so we're going to find my target group. Or I have a growth strategy. It's like, I stick with it for a while. Like, this is how I want, where I put my budget to grow my business. I stick with it for a while to see if it actually works. And I reflect on it. I see, okay, did it bring the results that I wanted? And then adjust it if it didn't. But this works with your family the same way. You might not call it strategy, but we could call it a routine or something, right? So if your biggest problem in your life is that you're so overwhelmed because you just can't get enough sleep, for example, then it's like, well, if that's my biggest problem, then let's find a strategy how I can get more sleep. So maybe sleep training is the
Yes.
thing that I need most at the moment. So again, this is going to move the needle the most in my life right now as a mom. It's like getting more sleep.
Right.
So let's find a sleep training program that works for me. It doesn't have to be. There's so many out there, right? For every like kind of mom, there's not only Glade and Cry. So find some sleep training that works for me. Stick with it for 2 weeks. Like so many moms I know, it's like I tried it for a night, and well, stick with it for a week or two. And if it didn't
Right.
work, then try something else. But like this system works. Like again, business and family.
Yeah. Well, no, sleep is sacred in the Calandrino household. Like everything evolves around that. Like if we're doing activities on the weekend, a couple of my kids still like nap. And so, I'm kind of anchored around that. I don't really want to do a lot between 1 and 3. We could do an activity in the morning. We can do an activity in the afternoon, or sometimes I can shove it one way or the other. But like I think sometimes sleep begets sleep, and then if they don't get proper, if they need a nap, then they might
Yeah.
not sleep at night. And I think sleep is key, and then having my kids sleep close to 12 hours every night, that's how I
Yeah.
get everything like done. Because then if they're sleeping that much, then I'm obviously getting 7 or 8 hours is what I usually do, and then I'm much more
Exactly. So
effective.
that I think it also ties in with your self-care as well. You gotta, if you have everyone a bit on a routine, you know when you can take care of yourself, when you can get things done too. Yeah. Enough sleep.
Yeah. I think it's great. Do you have like a routine that you follow? I know everybody's so individual, but do you kind of have a routine that you guys
Yeah,
follow
we found, yes,
as
we
a
found
family?
a wonderful school all 4 of our kids go to, or almost all. But so we found a wonderful school. So all our
Yep.
kids are in school, which helps me, and we have help. So for the business, it's me and my husband, but we also we had a nanny that was full time, and once we started sending the smallest one to school, she started working for us in the business. So she's part-time business, part-time help. So we work in the business, but usually that's another thing where we have a bit of routine, like 3 days a week. Usually my husband brings them, and then 2 days a week I bring them. And then our nanny picks the kids up. So I know exactly between either 8 or 4 or 9 or 3, I have time to work on the business. And that's when I'm full on my business. And then when the kids come home, I'm full
Right.
off. Like I try to, maybe there some days I need another half hour or something, but usually like then I'm full off and I go and be with
Yeah.
the kids. And try to make the most out of those few hours between coming home from school and dinner. I try to make just the most out of them, to play with them or hang out or just talk to them. And then we have the weekends, so I try not to work on the weekends. Sometimes my husband takes them out swimming, then I do some work or I take them. But in general, we try to spend the whole weekend together and go on hikes and bike rides
Yeah.
and just make the most out of it.
Yeah, I really like, that full on, full off. And that's something I really been like deploying. And I find that, your business is not going to burn down in a matter of like a few hours. And my phone automatically turns like to D&D usually at like 5, but typically from about, 5 to usually like 3, 4 to about like 8 o'clock is like really like sacred time. I'm working out or hanging out with the kids or whatever. But yeah, I'm sprinting from that like 9 to 3 and just accomplishing as much as I can possibly, accomplish. That's what as I can. And actually, I was interviewed by the news today, and they asked me like, how do you do everything you do? And I'm like, I spend like a couple hours like mapping out my schedule for the week. I have it in my phone, but then I write it out. I make sure I've written all the to-dos that have to do with it. And you got a text from me over the weekend. I was looking ahead at my schedule, making sure I'm like all organized. But I think, having it organized, prioritized, then I never called it like on off time, but I think it is true. Like you can't do more than one thing at one time. If you're trying to answer emails while you're in front of your kids are going to be frustrated. Then the person you're communicating is frustrated because you might not be giving them a right answer because that's affecting them. Yeah, I think that's
Yes.
interesting.
And usually there's nothing that cannot wait. I found there's
No.
nothing that needs to be answered in 3 minutes. Like usually no house is going to burn down. No one is actually going to die. No one is, it's like just sometimes to put it in perspective. Like I can answer this email tomorrow. Like my business is not going to suffer a loss if I answer them a day later. It's okay, and that can be very freeing to give yourself the permission to also just clock out.
Yeah. No, I've definitely started, utilizing that. You didn't always have the quality of attention, because sometimes you start to get overwhelmed and then the discipline flies out the window, and then you kind of got to get back to basics again. So
I think when I get overwhelmed, I always try to, and these tips are so simple and everyone repeats them, but they work. I just try to sit and breathe for a minute, and just try to refocus, like reprioritize, like what's really important here. What is like, and then sometimes I go back to all my kids are healthy. We have enough food in the fridge. It's like I have a happy marriage. So sometimes I go back to these things. It's like these things matter the most in my life. It's not if I can sell an extra 10 kits today. This is what it is about. It's like our parents are still alive. Like sometimes, so this is this gratitude practice is what people call it too. It's like taking deep breaths and just reminding myself like all the good that's in my life, and then trying to attack what gives me anxiety or a panic attack at that moment. It's like what's actually in that, and then going back to focus. Like what's going to move the needle the most right now? What is noise? What can I delegate? What can I just say no to? And then free myself, declutter again, free myself from all the things. You know what I also free myself from is expectations. Expectations.
From what?
Expectations from others. And I think that's, especially as a mom, do your own thing. Like do your thing. Find your way. Find your people. There are so many ways to raise a good human, or there are so many ways to be a good mom. Do it the way that feels best to you, and just learn not to listen to the rest. The rest, like as long as your kids are fed, safe, and loved, you are a good mom. So I go back to that too. Like they're fed, they're safe, or they're loved. That's probably the first. They're loved, they're safe, they're fed. That's it. That's what you need. My number one advice to new moms is always think about what feels good to you for a mom. And it's always about sleeping, feeding, going back to work. It's like, what do you think makes you as a mom the happiest? Staying home, working, sleeping with your child in your bed, having the child in a crib, breastfeeding, bottle feeding. What is you think for you as a mom makes you the happiest? And then find the book that tells you to do exactly that. Because there is a book out there for every style of parenting. So just find the book that that has the same ideas, the same values that you think makes you the happiest. And if you realize halfway through you always thought your child should sleep with you, but you can't get a good right nest, move them to a crib. It's fine. You can also adjust, right? If it doesn't work, adjust.
Right. Well, what's right for me and my family may not be right for, anyone else's like family. I've found that, I'm not a free range mom, but I'm not a helicopter mom, and I'm somewhere in the middle, and notice I'm a little bit more. So I read the book, Bringing Up Baby, and it's more like the French art of like parenting and finding this like, in between, and where it's more of like family, but what's right for me might not be right for someone else. But I think regardless of what style that you use, I think giving yourself grace is really important when things don't go according to plan. And I think that's important. One other thought, when we were talking about all this stuff and you were talking about, well, if I could sell an extra 10 kits today, that's not as important as my family. I had someone on my podcast not too long ago, Jordan Ostroff, and he talks about this whole concept of enough. And like, I always have to like tell myself, like, I have enough. Like, I don't need to go kill myself for this like other, if this person's going to go hire somebody else because they can't wait 2 more days to meet me, so I have the quality of attention and we can meet, then maybe it's just not the right thing and it's not the right, timing. I think it's important. And another one of my friends uses the word like big rocks, little rocks and like little specks of sand, is like, you got to keep your rocks, your whatever. For me, it's faith, family, and fitness. And then all the other stuff can fit in.
It's like the letting go of expectations from others to you I think a lot of times we put them ourselves. It's like, I think I'm not a good mom because I haven't signed up my kids for youth sport. I mean, whatever it might be, right? It's like, oh, the nagging guilt feelings. I'm not paying enough attention to my kids, or I work too much, or whatever it is. But like letting go of this guilt, realizing that spending 3 hours of quality time with your kids might be enough. I think that's the number one self-care advice I have. Like, try to let go of the guilt, of the expectation, of the noise, what's around you. Come back to what is good for you, what's good for your family, and then give yourself grace and give other people grace. Yeah, it's whatever. My other mantra is whatever works for your family. If you're happy, however you build your life, if you're happy in that life, and it's good for everyone around you, all the power to you.
Yeah. And if like a mom has really happy, good kids, and your kids are friends with their kids, and maybe the mom does things differently, but like, how would you say, good job, mom? Yeah. Like, I think sometimes we can be too critical of like other, people, or not be open to, other, styles and other ways.
Yeah.
So
it's like whatever works for your family, whatever works for the family, as long as your kids are loved, safe, and fed, you're doing a good job.
Yeah, and then you can have a keep going kit, right, for all the accidents that happen along the way.
Also buy this kit. No.
Yeah. So no, I'm serious. No, it does come in handy. Although my daughter is like obsessed with the Band-Aids, so we're gonna need to get some more. She likes to just put them on as decor, as accessories. So
and then for the
there's
dogs,
that.
And also like one, if the left leg has a boo-boo, the right leg also needs a bandage. It's so cute.
Yeah, it's so interesting. You've been through so many different like iterations, moving, traveling around the world, all these kinds of things. How do you, outside of like expectations, like how do you keep your mindset strong, and like how do you stay like resilient and like adapting to these different things? Do you have any like tools or things that you do?
I'm an extrovert, so I thrive off of change, new people, new places. It's what gives me energy. I love it. I actually haven't told you, we're moving to Germany for a year in summer. Just to bombshell that in, we're moving to Germany. So I'm just relocating my whole family to Germany. So this is nothing that I have to be resilient about, because I strive. It gives me energy. I strive off of it. I think just self-care in the sense of making sure I know what's good for my body and for me and for my mind. It's definitely sleep, eating somewhat healthy, and for sure exercise, outdoor exercise. And exercise, it doesn't have to be the gym. It can be just a hike with a kid or a walk around the neighborhood. Then eating balanced and regularly, and then getting enough sleep. I, for example, realized this year that too much coffee, or coffee in general, and also alcohol, right now is just not good for me. I really suffer a lack of energy, also lack of patience, even if I've only like 2 glasses of wine or something. So beginning of the year, I just decided to not drink anymore. So I stopped drinking, even though I love it, highly enjoy it, find it very sociable. I just decided not to drink alcohol anymore, and also not to drink coffee anymore. So just, I think, really knowing yourself, seeing like if you have 5 cups of coffee and you're starting doing this and you have anxiety, or with me, it was like if I drink alcohol, I don't sleep well, and then I'm low on patience and I take it out. Like I snap much faster at the kids. So just realizing this, like, And then, you snap at your kids and then you feel guilty and then you try to make it up with some other. So just not getting in these cycles, trying to find the root cause of your problem in the moment, and then have a strategy, stick with it, reflect on it, adjust it. So these are two things, for example, I've done this year. And just I get an afternoon slump is when I'm usually tired. And instead of forcing myself to power through and thinking, oh, I need to get these 3 more things done, I decided to just exercise during that time. So sometimes I just do a little 25 minutes of yoga in front of my desk, or go to the gym if I feel like I have enough time for that. And that helped a lot. And I realized, instead of doing 2 hours of like medium good work, I can do 1 hour of good work and then the other hour work out.
Yeah.
So I think it's to stay healthy, like, in your mind and resilient, is really looking at yourself and what you personally need. Like, what's your biggest problem and how can you solve that at the moment?
Yeah. Well, perhaps stop getting on these programs that they have like set up for like all these people, but instead curating what's best for you. Like, I too have a huge like energy slump in the middle of the day, like around like 3-4 o'clock. And like yesterday I was out in the heat and I had some work still to do, but I just literally like jumped in the pool, like, and hung out with the kids for like 15 minutes. And then after that, like, I went ahead and I did use the digital babysitter and put like a movie on for a little bit and knocked out the rest of my emails. But like, it was like a win-win. The kids were like, oh, we got mommy in the pool 15 minutes and we get to watch some TV. But like, I was just like, whoo, I'm like awake. I'm good now. Like, I'm actually more of an extroverted introvert. And so like, if I'm at conferences, I have to take a nap. Like, I'll eat like a really quick lunch. And while they have that hour and a half like lunch break, everybody's still like talking. Like, I do like a quick 15-minute nap. And then I come back in the afternoon, like, Amy, how are you still like good? I'm like, I did my reset. So like, I have to get like a little like reset. But I think it's like doing what works,
knowing self-care, like knowing what works for you. And if you're in a situation where you feel like nothing is working, then like step by step trying to understand what the real problem is. I think that's the other biggest advice for self-care. Like, try to understand your own body.
And then what else did we talk about? What did we say we were going to talk about? Let me make sure. Balancing business and babies, mindset, your travels around the world. So, okay, you're going back to Germany. I blocked off 3 weeks next year to go to Europe. So we might come to Germany. I don't know yet. Yeah. So I finally, my kids will be 5 and 4 at that point. I obviously wanted to do it sooner,
that's amazing.
But
They'll remember
it is what it is. But I think that's super cool. Is it just you have the opportunity and get to spend some more time with family and all of that?
Example for have a strategy, stick with it, reflect on, adjust it. Maybe, but we what it was is it came from talking to my family and feeling this urge that I would love to also immerse my kids in my culture more. I already talked German to them, but they understand, but they stopped speaking it at a point, and I let it slide. So and my husband was always open to even building our life in Germany at some point. But for me, that also, I wouldn't want to go back full time. So we thought about it and talked about it. It's like I said like 1 year would be perfect. Just go for a year. While the kids are still young enough where they can easily adapt. And we put it out in the universe. That's what it is, right? Tell people what you want to do. It's like, so we started talking to friends like, we would love to come to Germany for a year. And then a few months later, a friend of mine came back and said, we have these friends here in Munich. They also have 4 kids, which is unheard of in Germany. Germans have like 1.4 kids on general. So there are not a lot of big families there. So it's like, you even know another family who's 4 kids? And that's crazy. And they're like, they're moving to Texas for a year and they're looking for someone to rent their house. So we're like, when is this? Whoa! Where is it? And it turned out it's like a beautiful area in Munich. The schools are perfect. All my college friends are in Munich, so that I've lived there. So it just couldn't be more perfect. And my husband is like, we're only going to do this if everything is 100% aligned. And then I came back, it's like, I have the perfect house, the perfect city, the perfect, the perfect timing because it's right now. It's like here. And he's like, yeah, well, you delivered. Let's do it. So, but it's another thing of like being clear of what you want, and people call it goal setting a lot. Like set your goals, but also like put it out in the universe. Start telling people of what your wish, your dream is, and it might come back to you.
Wow. Yeah, I think like visualizing that future self and having it like in your head of where you're going to go, is so cool. Like, yeah, and like for me, like I always wanted to build like a real estate portfolio. Now we only have like 2 commercial properties like so far, but like I remember talking to my husband Valentine's Day in 2022, and he's like, I really want to bring my office back to like Orlando, and I'm like, well, we can sell our building. And then, so we sold the building, and then we got one building, and then I knocked on the door of the person next door, and I'm like, you're never going to get more money than the person here. So then we bought both buildings. Like we executed this whole thing. It happened so perfect. And then you really know, like, I was talking, my husband and I talk about too, like if you start to have like a lot of friction and a lot of, there's working hard, but then sometimes if you're really butting up against it, maybe it's not meant to be. But like if something else just kind of like comes together, you just got to go with it, right?
And sometimes if it doesn't work right now, it's also there's seasons for things. You can always give yourself the grace to say, I wanted this right now, but it's not happening. But maybe in the future will hold this for me.
Yeah, it's not happening yet.
Exactly, yeah. I think a lot of people work with vision boards or dream boards too to visualize. We haven't done that yet, but I think I'm always very vocal of what I'm dreaming of. So.
Well, I'm super excited for you, and yeah, maybe I'll even get to see you over there. Was there anything we haven't chatted about that you want to chat about?
Yeah, I think I was thinking of what my last 2 words should be. So I have 2 words for you to finish this talk. Number 1 is grace, and we talked a lot about it. Give yourself grace and give others as much grace as you can, always. And the second one is joy. Try to find the joy in every day. And sometimes you might need to schedule that joy. But if it's your cup of coffee in the morning outside, just take those micro moments of joy. Or if it's just hearing the giggle of your child, if it's a super stressful day, but you hear this giggle and tell yourself, this is my moment of joy for today, you will have a much better time in your life.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I think those are wise words to keep in mind. So this has been awesome.
And this is fun.
How do people? Yeah. How do people find you? Like, can they connect with your brand? Yes. Or I think you do have like one of your Instagrams that's your adventures around the world, which is the
definitely
best way to
via the business. Keep Going First Aid. So we are on Instagram at keepgoingfirstaid.com. Oh no, not at Keep Going First Aid. That's also our Facebook handle, our TikTok handle. Go to our website, keepgoingfirstaid.com. We have an email address there, hello@keepgoingfirstaid. Everything goes to either my community manager or me. I see every DM or email that's meant for me. So I will, I can see all of them. I don't have to. So, but if you say, hi, Antje, it will come to me. So connect with us via the website or social media.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, this has been great. And I can't wait for this to come out. So thanks to everybody for tuning in for another episode of Performance Mindset. This is Amy Calendino reminding you to go beyond, and I'm signing off.